Dexa Agira Girar is the name of the tournament from Oeuvre. At least I think that's how you say it, but uh, for this video, I will be going over my predictions of the tournament. And of course, the first two are crossed out as, we already know who won. Firstly, let's start with the current round, and I want my boy George to win. He's my favorite character in the series so far, and he's relatable too, but I just don't think that he's gonna win. Normally how fights are paced in these stories, like the one person will gain an advantage, then the next will gain an advantage, and I think Megan is about to go onto her next advantage. Then from there, maybe George will gain the advantage again, but I think she'll gain it and then beat him. At least that's what I think is going to happen. But of course, with this story, Oeuvre is, really unpredictable, so hopefully my goat will win, but currently I don't think so. Next up is the Amber Claymore versus the Horned Leg Rhinoceros. And Claymore does seem to have some, type of connection to Megan or the Pictish witch, but like with some other people in the comments, they said that the horned leg rhinoceros probably has some type of grudge. Well, not probably. He definitely has some type of grudge. And so I think that might play on to something later in the series. So I think he'll win this match. This next fight is between the corrupted Varuna and the Judge of South America. Now, I think that the Judge of South America is going to take this match. There's, of course, the thing the Hunter said about meeting him in the finals, but of course, that could just be someone being cocky. But what I think really does sell this is that Varuna in, like, Hinduism is a god, or at least, like, I think it's one of the strongest or most highest ranking gods. And from what I could find, like, Varuna is a good, or at least, you know, not as bad of a god. So, assuming that his name is the corrupted Varuna, meaning that, well, what do you think of when corrupted? It's the opposite. So, if Varuna is supposed to be good, then this guy should be evil. And of course, that's where the judge comes in, because, judges, they decide, or, they're with that whole thing of being guilty or innocent, though I guess that would be the jury, but still, like, they have that, like, that's what you think of when you think of a judge, right? So I think the judge would do something like, maybe kind of like what Higuruma did, or like he'll be like, "Oh, you are guilty," and then he'll defeat the Varuna, maybe even killing him. I mean, the king of martial arts himself died, so I think it is possible that this guy could die. Next up is the Ebony Mountain versus the Fury of the Steppes. There's not much to go off of for these two, but the one thing I could think of is the Fury of the Steppes. Like, Fury, maybe that person is seeking revenge, like Rhinoceros. Uh, but I think that the Mountain will win because that moment she had with King, and then he died. And so I think maybe that'll give her a rage boost, and she'll be like, no! And then she'll defeat the other person. Next up is the Messenger of Iblis versus Valencia Subio. Now, looking into their names, Valencia Subio means like Valencia climbed, and she does say that she's perfect everywhere, so that means that maybe she's like, the perfect human being or something, and so she climbed to that. And Iblis in Islam is what they call the devil. So what I'm thinking is, since she's perfect, then, whilst I'm a Christian, so I don't know as much about Islam, there's still the thing about not sinning. So if she is perfect, then she could perhaps defeat the messenger of the devil. Except for one little thing. There are tattoos all over her. And in Islam, that is a sin. So I think what's going to happen is that Angar Warsito is going to show her that whatever she was doing, like, she's not actually perfect. And then he's going to, like, ruin her ego or something like that. And then he's going to defeat her. Also, I love his design, so I just want him to stay around longer, please. I mean, this is about who I think will win, not who I want, of course. But, like, I think it makes sense what I said, so. A perfect example of what I want versus what I think will happen is this next match of Boldness's Bride versus the Demon with a Human Gait. I really want to see, like, Warren fight Angar Warsito, but from some stuff I'm gonna get into the second round, I think that the Demon with a Human Gait will be the one to fight Angar Warsito. So I'm going to skip over the reasoning for now, but due to that potential fight, I think he will beat Boldness. And now, the oldest among you versus the key. Now, there are a few interesting things to talk about for this one, such as the fact that the key first shows up after Angar Warsito and Warren's meeting, so it seemed to have been spying on them. And Li Gyuyin's name, the oldest among you, does spark a lot of questions about how old this guy is, especially with like the traditional Chinese attire he and his associates wear. Also, the key's name, it's the only name out of all the fighters that is question mark, so we don't know the key's actual name. And I think that plays into whatever the key's character is going to be, which I'll talk about here. The key, I believe, is a blackmailer, and hence why, the key was looking for information from Angar Warsito and Warren. It wasn't stealing their techniques or anything like that. It was, finding information on them. I mean, Warren is talking about giving Angar Warsito a mission, so he probably did some type of crime for him. Especially considering the fact that, Angar Warsito is the messenger of the devil, which kind of actually makes me think a little bit about good old Warren. Like, what are you? Because he's doing missions for you, and he's the messenger of the devil. But that's a whole nother thing, right? So I think that, the key, of course, he's a blackmailer, and he finds information on people to use it against them. So he uses this information to make them forfeit, which is what he's going to try to do against the oldest among you. Especially since his name is, the oldest among you. If he is, I don't know how old the rest of the fighters is, but let's presume he's at least like 60 to 80. There's a good chance that he has dirt on him, especially if he's a fighter. He's probably killed someone. And so I think the key has some type of info on Yu Yin, and he's going to try to use it to blackmail him. But here's the thing about Yu Yin. With the two, like, Siamese twins, like, he's very non-formal, as you can see in this panel with them. So I think he's... this is going to sound real cringe, but I think he's a free spirit. So he doesn't really care about what others think. And so I think, he's not going to listen to the blackmail, and he's going to fight the key anyway. Of course, it's probably not going to be a stomp fight, as Lovney did say that they want, like, each fight to possibly be someone's favorite, to be so good that it could be someone's favorite. And so I don't think they're just going to make the oldest among you destroy the key, but I do think that he's going to win, and with more ease than the others, as Was the key probably has some type of martial arts knowledge. I don't think. I mean, if he truly does blackmail others, then he probably doesn't have as much as those others. As why would he blackmail them? And so that is what I think will happen in this round. Hey, so I just realized that I crossed out Megan in some of the previous pictures for the tournament, but I really do not want to go back and re-edit all that. So just pretend like it never happened. And now we are on to the Hunter versus Hell's Pig. These two, from the little of what I've seen, both seem to be evil, basically. And, of course, Aniti, or Aniti, uh, I'm not sure, but that person is part of the two prisoners. And some people have been saying that chances are it's going to be a thing where, one prisoner wins, one prisoner loses. And based on everything we've seen so far, I think that's fair. And I think that Aniti will be the one to lose. And it's not just because, Gabriel is cooler, which, he is, let's be honest. But it's also because, let's look at the other guy. Dashi's epithet is literally the hunter. Well, Aniti's is Hell's Pig. In other words, it'll be a hunter versus an animal. Also, I just realized that it's Auntie, not Aniti. But yeah, basically due to that, I think that the hunter is going to take this. And, there's a little bit, I remember seeing a post about Lovney that said, or not that said, and it might have been a comment, but it was like another epithet for Auntie, that secondary epithet like Lyoto and Makiwashi and them have. But I was not able to find it, so I'm not sure what that was. So I can't really play into what that epithet could mean. But yeah, I think that, at least based off of what I have right here, I think that the hunter's going to take this. Next up is the Forbidden Taboo versus the Dancer. His feet are light and nimble, and he never sleeps, yet says that he will never die. Dances in light and shadow, and is a great favorite. He never sleeps, the judge. He is dancing, dancing, and he says that he will never die. Okay, I'm kidding, but yeah, there's not much to go off for these two. However, from what I remember, there was a panel where Onizuka's friend, who I forgot the name of, but he said that he's here to support the man that will win this tournament. And the person, it only showed, their torso and stuff, the picture, but it kind of looked like the Forbidden Taboo. And as a friend of Onizuka, I think that he's trustworthy enough. So I think that the Forbidden Taboo will win at least this one round. Next up is Zero's Down versus Macau Rookie. Although there's barely anything to go off of for most of these characters, these two exemplify that. But I think that Macau Rookie will lose because, it says Rookie plus Zero's Down could maybe mean he's fallen down Zero's time, so maybe he's lost 0 matches. Plus, he still has more aura, so yeah. I think he'll win. And now we have Frozen Blood versus the Diamond-Fingered Rogue. Now, for these two, as in this image, the Rogue talks about how he adjusted his eardrum just in time. And he was shown listening to other fighters, kind of like the key. So I think maybe he listens to fighters or tries to spy on them and then adjusts himself based off of them. And the way he adjusts himself is through this incredibly violent means. But yeah, I think that he will be a constantly changing and evolving character. And so, against Frozen Blood, he will evolve. And frozen blood, uh, frozen, I guess. And I think that could represent like someone staying in their past or in the past. This can also be seen by the fact that she's wearing like very, I guess, like militaristic uniform, and that she has like a gun and seems to be a general. So I think, she'll represent, you know, not changing, and he'll represent change. And I think that due to him being change, he'll win, which, yeah, is kind of a common concept, and is a bit of a stretch to just say the themes like that. But I have already been doing that, and I'm gonna do it some more. So it's like whatever. But yeah, I think that due to that, he'll win, as he is the person that changes. Up next is Ugly Bastard versus Uomu Man. And here is where I have to apologize because I messed up again. The key is not the only person that we don't know the name of. As Uomu Man, his name is labeled as question mark, question mark, question mark. So, yeah. But, yeah. Uomo Man, from what I found, Uomo means, in Italian, means man. So, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but, he's man, I guess, like chai tea. Uh, so, yeah. And he also has this, like, chart of, like, the human body. I forget what it's called, but it's that chart. You've seen it before. And I think that'll play into the fight. Because Ugly Bastard is an ugly bastard. And so I think that, yeah, this is a bit of a stretch, but I think that his body is just going to be so strange that Uomo Man doesn't really know what it is. It's like it doesn't fit into his rigid, uh, like, way of seeing the world. As we see him talk about how this thing isn't allowed under broadcasting laws, so he destroys it. So I think he's a very rigid person, kind of like Frozen Blood, and Ugly Bastard will be similar to the Diamond Fingered Roke, as in he's this thing that doesn't fit in. And so I think he'll end up winning because of that. Ugly Bastard, I mean, will win. Yeah. So that's what I think will happen due to his freakish body. Because, like, I remember he said that, like, his muscles are pushed to the max after, like, 5 push-ups. Like, if true, that's pretty crazy and not exactly normal. Next up is Catman the Rogue versus the Canine. For this one, I have no idea what to think. However, Gay has been around for longer and is a seemingly more important character. So, due to that, I'm just going to say that he wins. Also, it does seem that he has some type of grudge against Catman, so. And now for the final fight of round one, the Fallen Angel versus the Walking Crematorium. Like I said earlier, I think that Gabriel will win this. He just seems like he has something more important to do with the story, especially with the whole investigation thing. So I think he'll take this, but I will try to find out what the crematorium's name means. Now, this is based entirely on literally nothing, but I was making ideas for characters and abilities for my own webcomic one time, and I was thinking, what could be like a fire ability? So maybe someone with spontaneous combustion, but like, if they can explode themselves or set themselves on fire, they'd probably need energy or fat or something to do that with. And I think that is Foti, whatever his last name is, ability. I think it is to absorb biomass and then burn that up in a fire. And that's why he is in the toilet, because he's absorbing the biomass from the sewer so that he can use that in his fight to lit himself ablaze. Rengoku reference. And try to fight, Gabriel, but I do think that it will lose. And with that, finally marks the end of my predictions for round one. And this video is already 20 minutes long. So now for the next round, round two. So yeah, this is my prediction for what the start of round two will be. And I think that Mei Budo will take over, like, she's going to see the golden swordfish or whatever. She's going to beat her up. And then she is going to be the one to fight Makiwashi, which would fit with, because she did seem to know Leoto. I forget exactly what, because it's been a while. But, she did, she knew him. So she'd probably be mad at Makiwashi and would want to fight him. I don't know. Or maybe not mad, but she wants to test herself or something. Plus, I feel like we should still see her do something, but I don't know. So I think she's going to win. But I don't think it's going to be easy win. I mean, Makiwashi is probably mentally nerfed to a certain degree after King's death, Leota's death, I mean. But I don't think it's going to be too severe, which is why I think Mei is going to beat him, but it's going to be in a way that she doesn't get out unscathed, and she's not going to be able to move or whatever, which is going to play into my prediction of round three. Pictus Witch versus Horn-Legged Rhinoceros. So for Pictus Witch versus Horn-Legged Rhinoceros, I think that Makiwashi is the person that he wanted to get revenge on. And so him being defeated is going to make him really angry and is, going to give him like a rage boost or something, and he's going to end up defeating Megan. That's what I think will happen in this fight. The reason why is because, from what I remember, Makiwashi had a record of never losing, or at least, he rarely did. So I think, it's possible that, of course, he fought this guy in the past. Now, for Judge of South America versus Ebony Mountain, I don't really have anything to go on. But due to something later that could be cool, I think that the judge will win, I guess. Next up is the Messenger of Iblis versus the Demon with a Human Gait. Now, of course, it's time to talk about that thing I was talking about earlier and what I think will happen. From what I could find on Google, gait means like the way someone walks. And of course, the way someone walks can be interpreted in several different ways, such as the way you walk or perhaps the way you behave. And what I think will happen is that the demon with a human gait is someone with some type of immense anger issues. And that's why he has a human gait, because he has these anger issues, but he tries to control them, which is why he has a human walk, as he's trying to, be a better person. And this can parallel the thing with, the previous fight of Anger Warcito against Valencia Subio, who is someone who thought they were perfect, but actually wasn't. And this guy, of course, will think he's not perfect, but he's a lot closer than Subio, and due to him, acknowledging his wrongful doings, he will end up winning this fight against Anger Warcito. Next up is the Oldest Among You versus the Hunter. I'm not sure much about this one. There's really not much to go off of, but I think the Oldest Among You would win because he probably has more experience and more skills. But it also could be, the Hunter. Since he's a hunter, he hunts Gyuyin. But at the same time, there's no kind of animal thing here. So I feel like it's less likely for Dashi to win. So due to that, I'm going to say that Gyuyin wins here. Then next, we have the Forbidden Taboo versus Zero's Down. For this one, there's really nothing to go off of, but Zero's Down, I guess, has a lot of aura, and Forbidden Taboo has that thing with Onizuka's friend. But I was thinking maybe Forbidden Taboo will lose here, and so that will show, because like Onizuka and his friend would be really surprised by that, because Onizuka's friend said that Taboo would win the tournament. So I think that that will be like a pad to launch Zero's down as some super strong guy or something. I don't know. There's not really much else that I can say here. Next up is the Diamond Fingered Roke versus Ugly Bastard. Like the other past few round or matches, there's not really much for me to go off of for this one. So maybe it'll be like, since the Roke can change his body, he wins again, like the last one, because Ugly Bastard can't change his body. Presumably, he's just a freak. So I think the freak that can change will win. I guess. I don't know. Next up is the Canine versus the Fallen Angel. And this one will, of course, be an easy Gabriel sweep. So, yeah, that was the second round, and I didn't really have much to go off of for it, other than this would be cool. But that's gonna happen a lot more now in the third round and beyond. So, I guess get ready for it. For the first fight of the quarterfinals, I think that the Nasty Brat will replace May. The reason why is because now she has had time to train with Onizuka, so she's probably stronger. So now she'll face off the Horn Leg Rhinoceros, who, assuming that, all my other predictions were correct, he wasn't able to fight the person he wanted to defeat, which would be Makiwashi, nor the person that fought Makiwashi should be really angry. So she'd be fighting the strongest version of him, and now, she's going to beat him. It's going to be like a cool moment. Also, another thing I just thought of when editing later was that maybe this could have an effect where, there's a lot of, like, I guess bad blood, or maybe not bad blood, but stuff going on between Rin and the Quirin. So maybe there could be an out of tournament fight where she fights the Quirin, and then like actually shows how far she's come, as she earlier was talking about how the Quirin is far too strong for her to ever beat. So another thing I was thinking of. Next up is the Judge of South America versus the Demon with the Human Gate, and again, there's not much to go on. So I'm just gonna say that the judge wins because of a thing later that could happen, I guess. And then the next is the Oldest Among You versus Zero's Down. For this one, I was thinking, since he's, the oldest, maybe he sees like Zero Down, like he knows what technique he's using because he's seen it before. Then everyone's like, oh, what? He's using that technique? That's a super powerful technique. And then they fight, and, the Oldest Among You, he seems pretty cocky and tries to fight it, but in the end, he ends up losing to the technique, and then, like, that solidifies Jeremy Smith's as, one of the strongest people. And then for the final fight, like, do I even have to say it? That Gabriel's gonna win that one. Next up is the Nasty Brat versus the Judge of South America. For this one, I think the judge will win because his feet are nimble. He never sleeps, and he says that he will never die. He dances in light and shadow, the judge, and he is a great favorite. He never sleeps. He is dancing, dancing, and he says that he will never die. Okay, I'm kidding. I promise I won't do it again. But, like, I don't know. It's just because of a thing that could happen later that I think he will win. So, I think he's going to win over the Nasty Brat here. And it's going to be like a moment where she's like, hey, I lost, but look how far I've come compared to previous things, or something like that. I'm not sure. Next up is Zero's Down versus the Fallen Angel. And of course, there is basically nothing to go off of for this one. But, Zero's Down, I think him and the Fallen Angel will have a good fight. Though I think that Gabriel is going to win because of something I'll go into for the finals of the Judge versus Gabriel. So, yeah, I guess just wait like 10 seconds and then I'll tell you why I think Gabriel's going to win this round. And so, of course, the final match is going to be between the Judge of South America and the Fallen Angel. All right, so here's what I was talking about earlier with the cool thing I was thinking out. So, Gabriel, the country where the name Gabriel is the most common is in Argentina. So, that's in South America, and the Judge of South America. And his epithet is the fallen angel. But, in the Bible, the fallen angel is Lucifer, but at one point he was, good. So then I think that Gabriel is going to be like maybe the Judge of South America's, like, I don't know, a previous friend or coworker or something. So he committed a crime, and of course, they fell out, and then of course now they're fighting, and I think that, well, I guess I don't know who will win here, but I don't know. I really just can't think of who I think would win, but I guess maybe Gabriel would win the tournament or something, and then he tells the judge why he did the crime or whatever. I'm not really sure, but yeah, those are my predictions for Oeuvre, not Oeuvre. For the longest time I read it as Oeuvre, so it's kind of hard to say Oeuvre, which I think that's how it's pronounced. But yeah, that's that's who I think will win. That's what I think will happen for most of it. Really, the only stuff that's really solid is like the first round. A lot of those I think will happen. But yeah, if you want to see more videos like this, why not stick around? And if you do, then I'll see you in the next one.